I own both of these. They're both in the studio right now. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you the real reason I bought the XL when I already had the XSE. And it's not the reason most people assume. But first, let me show you what these machines actually are, because most comparisons get this wrong from the jump. The XSE and the XL are not different versions of the same machine. They are different generations of MPC entirely. And that one fact changes everything about your files, your sessions, and your workflow. Two machines, same brand, same OS, completely different generation. Here's where they split. The XSE is generation 1, the XL is generation 2. Akai publishes separate firmware paths for each. This is not just a version number. It determines what the hardware can actually do at a fundamental level. Everything I'm about to show you comes back to that line. Both machines share the same core MPC DNA: sampling, sequencing, key groups, plugins, mixing. Both have 16 RGB pads, a 10.1-inch multi-touch display, combos XLR and TRS inputs, 8 audio outputs, 2 MIDI ins, 4 MIDI outs, 8 CV gate outs, and SATA expansion support. If you know one, you can sit down at the other and make a beat. Same workflow, same OS. And that's exactly where the XSC controversy starts. When Akai dropped it in 2023, producers looked at the features list and said, this is a paint job with a price tag. Retro colorway, RAM bump, more storage, same screen, same buttons, same I/O. So the question is, was it a money grab? Well, let the facts answer that. If you're deciding between these two right now, subscribe real quick. I'll break down gear like this every week, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. The XSC runs a quad-core processor, 4 GB of RAM, 48 GB of internal storage. The XL runs a Generation 2 8-core processor, 16 GB of RAM, that's gigabytes, and a 256 GB internal NVMe SSD with a SATA expansion bay. This is not a baby upgrade. That's Akai sending a truck where they used to send a lunchbox. And the XL supports 16 audio tracks in standalone. The XSC caps at 8. If you record vocals, stems, layered instruments, that's a difference. It shows up in every single session. Here's the one nobody tells you before you buy. On the XSC, your internal drive is invisible to your computer. You cannot back it up directly. You cannot transfer files to it from a computer. Save a project to your internal drive and try to access it in controller mode. It's not there. Akai's own documentation says it plainly. Generation 1 internal drives do not mount to a computer. Your workaround for that is external drives, SD cards, USB drives, and SATA. It's manageable, but it's friction. You deal with this every single week. On the XL, plug in USB-C, the internal drive mounts directly to your computer, and you move files like a normal human being. That's the Generation 2 advantage nobody puts in the headline. Links are in the description. We got Sweetwater, Zounds, and Guitar Center. If you're financing, Zound has a pay over time option. This is worth checking out. The XSC has 2 USB-A ports and 1 USB-B port. The XL has 3 USB-A and 1 USB-C. And that USB-C is not just for file transfer. It gives you 24 channels of bidirectional audio and 32 channels of MIDI over a single cable. That turns the XL into a full studio hub connected directly to your DAW. I did a complete breakdown of this comparing the XL's USB implementation to the SP404 MK2's implementation. Link is on the screen and in the description right now. Watch that one after this. The XSC uses USB-B, which handles controller mode and basic files transfer. That's solid, but it's a completely different league from what the XL does, doing that over USB-C. The clip-based workflow is built into the XL's core manual. On the XSE, it's documented as part of the MPC Pro Pack, a paid add-on. If clip launching and live arrangement are part of how you work, the XL has it out of the box. The XSC makes you pay to get there. The XL introduces the MPCe pads, 3D sensing technology, aftertouch, XY axis modulation per pad. The XSC has standard velocity sensitive pads, Good pads, but not like this. The Q-Link layout also shifted. The XL moves all 16 into a single horizontal row with OLED displays on each one, so you see parameter values in real time without looking at the screen. If you've been on an XSC for years, that's a muscle memory reset. Not wrong, just different. Here's something that matters if you work in hybrid mode. Standalone and DAW together. The XSL has dedicated hardware buttons on the face that works simultaneously with the MPC desktop software. You're not choosing one or the other, you're controlling both at the same time from the hardware surface. On the XSC, in controller mode, the machine is essentially handing the wheel to the software. The XL keeps both lanes open. If your workflow lives between standalone and DAW, and mine does, that's not a small thing. The XSC was $2,500 new. The XL is $2,899. $3,000 basically, and I've already seen the comments. $400 for what? A new layout and extra RAM? Stacking all of that against the $400 difference, and the argument against the XL gets harder to make. And if $2,899 isn't where you're at right now, the XSC is discontinued. But you can still find it on Reverb and eBay, or your local stores if they sell it. Prices vary depending on its condition, so shop around. But if you're choosing between them today at full price, $400 is not the reason to leave the XL on the shelf. If you own an XSC, it's still a serious machine. The workflow is proven, the input-output functionality is deep. It will not stop you from making great music. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Now, the reason I bought the XL when I already had the XSC? The XSC was a special edition in name. The XL is what the flagship actually needed to be. Less friction, more power, more tracks, more built in, and a generation of hardware. Akai is clearly building towards going forward. People assume it was the specs, the RAM, the storage, the pads, and yeah, all of that matters, but the honest answer is this. When you're running a production operation where the machine has to perform every single day, content, beats, courses, sessions, the friction points on Generation 1 start stacking up. The file management workaround, the 8 audio track ceiling, the USB-B limitation, the hybrid workflow limitations. None of these things break the XSE, but they slow you down constantly, every week. I bought the XL because I was done paying that tax. That's it. Besides, I wanted the dedicated buttons between the hardware and the software. Which side are you on? Drop it in the comments. And if you've been saving projects on your XSC's internal drive without knowing you can't back them up directly, hurry up and move those files to an external hard drive right now. You'll thank me later.
Now that we on a roll, make ways for days unsaver.